Welcome, 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 everyone. It's Arky Hodges here, president of the Black Achievement Fund, and I am happy to be with you all today. Today, we're going to be talking about or sharing the history of some really, really wealthy African Americans in American history. But the emphasis that I want you all to see is how they use their money. What did they do with their money? As you may know, the Black Achievement Fund, we are about Black economic independence. That's right, about capital, about money. A lot of people in our community, especially in the conscious community, have a somewhat contemptuous attitude towards lots and lots and lots of wealth. But we here at the Black Achievement Fund, we understand that money is simply a tool for our grand development. And we're here to ensure that we have the capital to finance that development on a long-term basis, which is why we created a very simple system of collective economics to do just that. And our motto, as you all know, is 10 million Black people and our allies plus $9 a month equals $90 million every single month and over $1 billion a year. I say that so often that I think it loses its power sometimes. But I want you all to just think for a moment. What could the Black Achievement Fund do? What could the Black community do with $90 million in just 1 month? In just one single month. 1/5 of the Black community. 1/5 in 1 month. What could we do with $90 million? It takes 640 acres in most states to start your own town, your own municipality. 90 million, if we took $10 million, we could buy enough land for 10 new Black municipalities in 1 month. In one single month with $90 million, we could build a hospital, complete with all the state-of-the-art medical devices, equipment that there are, and hire and pay the salaries of the doctors, the nurses, the support staff, all out of the $90 million that we collect in one single month. After enslavement, one of the greatest strategies that racist white Southerners use against Black people was to withhold from them money. They knew that if Black people were to earn a salary, no matter how menial, that we had the consciousness to pool that money together to buy tracts of land so that we wouldn't have to work for them. They knew instinctively that Black people knew how to and had to rely upon each other for so long that it would naturally follow after enslavement. So they created a system of sharecropping that effectively eliminated African Americans from being able to acquire any cash, any money. We all know the story of sharecropping. The former master now allows you to work and earn a portion of the harvest, and he fronts you provisions until harvest comes, but at the end of the harvest season, he cheats you out of your fair share so that you effectively are just working for your provisions and getting no cash. I think that because so many people have come into our community and have asked for donations, and we've given, and we haven't seen the results that were promised, that many of us are soured to ideas of collective economics. But I want to say to you, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Being in the nonprofit community over the past 6 years of launching the Black Achievement Fund, I've had an opportunity to observe our leadership. And leadership is absolutely paramount in being able to deliver us to economic independence, self-determination, and full liberation here in America. The Black Achievement Fund is the community's organization. I won't be president forever of the Black Achievement Fund. The gains that the Black Achievement Fund has made, the land that we've acquired, is all in the Black Achievement Fund's name. In addition to that, I'm donating land for the clubhouse, and I look to donate more land for hospitals, dental clinic, cultural centers, so on and so forth. So we want you all to have faith. And another thing, we asked for $9 because we didn't want anyone to have to be burdened with contributing to this organization. We know that you have a lot of other organizations that you give money to, so on and so forth. So we wanted to create a model that will allow everyone an opportunity to participate. Everyone has responsibility for our development, and we're doing it in a way that doesn't pain anyone. On top of that, we are a nonprofit 501c3 organization, so all of your contributions are 100% tax deductible. If you want to see more about what we've accomplished, I invite you to go to our website at baf.solutions, and you will see so many things that we've already accomplished since June of 2020. We're not waiting for 10 million people. We've already found success with a small group of people. We've already acquired 9 acres of land collectively through a small group of people, not even 500 people. So what we're doing is leading by example. We are an organization that is centered on action. What we are trying to achieve right now is the development of a model community to showcase the genius of our people, a place of refuge, a place where we can learn new skills, a place where we can celebrate our culture, but tangible results for our community. An action plan. That's what we're presenting to you who have not joined to the Black Achievement Fund, join the Black Achievement Fund. If you want to follow along our development, we have a great blog that we've put together that is chronicling all of the steps necessary to build a community from the ground up. So I invite you all to take a look at that, because we're not looking to do this just for Atlanta. The Black Achievement Fund is seeking to build new municipalities all across the country, but we want you also out there to look for opportunities to do so as private investors. And understanding that you have the Black Achievement Fund who's taken the lead in creating a raw land development and providing a blog that's showing these are the steps that you need to take. And also providing some of the contractors, perhaps, for some of your projects. But the whole idea of what we're trying to do is to reestablish the over 200 Black towns that were developed between 1875 and 1915. These towns were self-governing. They had their own police chiefs, their own police courthouses, so on and so forth. They administered their own justice. They were able to operate their businesses under a different worldview. And we're seeking to go back to the times in which we exercise the most power that any group of people could exercise in America, and that's through the establishment of our own municipalities. So that, in a nutshell, is what the Black Achievement Fund is all about. I'm going to turn next to some pioneers, African Americans in American history, who gained considerable wealth despite enslavement, despite Jim Crow, despite all the oppressive forces that were bearing down against African Americans. And we're also going to see what happened, the retaliation of white people against some of these very successful Black people. And I want to stop there for a second. One of the main concerns and apprehensions that I've come across from Black people in wanting to be a part of our New Kemet residential community is fear of white violence against us. The first thing they say is, man, we tried that before, and look what they did to all of those towns. And now we're in a even more white supremacist, racist climate than we've ever been in, and you're talking this now. How are you going to protect it? That's the number one question. But before I even answer that question, I want to pose a thought. And that thought is what I'm hearing that we are afraid to be self-governing, that we're afraid to create new, thriving Black communities, that we're afraid to rival other communities out of fear that someone is going to come and burn it down? So, as a people, we're supposed to dim our light? When I tell people how extravagant I want the community to be, when I share with people that we are inspired by ancient Kemet and that the houses that we're building are inspired by the Great Pyramids, they say, man, you're inviting trouble. What do you think white people are going to do with a Black community that looks like this, and there are no other Black communities, and there aren't any white communities that look this good? So are we supposed to dumb ourselves down in order to make white racists feel superior? We're saying absolutely not. We're here to create a private paradise to be replicated all across this country. We should be able to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, traveling exclusively in Black municipalities that service our every single need. We're supposed to have our own healthcare system that rivals anybody's healthcare system in the world. We have the capabilities of doing that. We have the consciousness to do that. But we have to have the leadership to put it on the table. We have to have the leadership that says, this is a new future that we want to have that is different than what we've conceptualized under the civil rights movement. We've been integrated. And we will remain integrated. We're not saying to stop being integrated. We're saying start creating new worlds for ourselves, not just communities, whole new cities where no police officer can be there but the ones that we've hired. That if you do go into a courtroom, it's a courtroom that we built. That you're going to sit in front of a judge that we appointed. This is a very simple mission, a very simple solution. And it is what every Black person says they want. So we're here And we promise to continue to lead by example and not just through rhetoric. We understand that there is a lot of mistrust in our community, but we feel that we've earned the benefit of the doubt. And if you haven't joined, join us. And if you don't like what you see, come on the platform and let us know. Help us better what we're doing. But this is the way forward. So join us, BAF.solutions. So now I'm going to turn to our video for the day, and we'll have a little time for comments afterwards.
When you think of black wealth, you probably think of Oprah, Jay-Z, or LeBron. But long before they made their first million, a hidden class of black elites had already built empires. In a time of brutal oppression, they created generational wealth through real estate, finance, and industry, laying the first blueprints for black legacy in America. These aren't rags to riches stories. These are dynasties forged in fire. Get ready to uncover the untold history of America's original black elite. Our journey starts way back, not in the Gilded Age, but when the United States was just being born, with a man who was born a free man in Philadelphia in the year 1766. His name was James Forten, and he would become a titan of industry and the patriarch of one of the first and most powerful black families in America. His story isn't just about money. It's about patriotism, brilliant innovation, and a deep commitment to the abolitionist cause that would become his family's mission for generations.
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform.
Forten grew up surrounded by the American Revolution. At just 14, he joined the fight for independence, serving on the warship Royal Louis. He was captured by the British and held on a brutal prison ship. Even as a teenager, his character was unbreakable. He turned down an offer for a comfortable life in England, choosing to stay a prisoner of war, loyal to the new United States. When he was finally released, Forten went back to Philly and got an apprenticeship in the only world he knew, shipbuilding. He worked in the sail loft of Robert Bridges, where the huge canvases that powered global trade were made. And this is where Forten's genius took over. He wasn't satisfied with old methods. He invented a brand new type of sail that gave ships greater speed and control, a game changer in maritime technology. That invention was his key to a fortune. When his boss retired in 1798, Forten bought the entire business and quickly made it one of the most successful in Philadelphia. At a time when segregation was the law of the land, Forten's workshop was different. He hired an integrated workforce of black and white craftsmen, all working together. By the early 1800s, James Forten wasn't just a rich black businessman. He was one of the wealthiest men in Philadelphia, with a fortune estimated at around $100,000, a staggering sum that would be worth millions today. But Forten's real legacy wasn't just the money. It was how he used that money as a weapon in the fight for freedom. He poured his fortune into the abolitionist movement, funding newspapers and backing anti-slavery groups. The famous American Anti-Slavery Society was even organized in his home. His house on Lombard Street became a major stop on the Underground Railroad, a safe haven for those escaping the slave-holding South. This mission for justice became the Forten family's identity. James and his wife, Charlotte, didn't raise their children to be lazy socialites. They raised them to be soldiers in the war for equality. His sons took over the family business and continued the activism. His daughters married into another prominent abolitionist family, the Purvises, creating a multi-generational dynasty of activism. His granddaughter, Charlotte Forten Grimke, became a famous poet and teacher who documented her time teaching newly freed slaves after the Civil War. When James Forten died in 1842, his funeral was one of the largest Philadelphia had ever seen. The Forten family proves that the story of early black wealth is inseparable from the fight for black liberation. From the abolitionist north, we now head down to the post-Reconstruction south, a place of incredible danger, but for a few, also a place of incredible opportunity. Here in Memphis, Tennessee, we find the towering figure of Robert Reed Church, a man born into slavery who would rise to become the South's first black millionaire. His story is one of surviving unimaginable violence and having the genius to turn a city's disaster into a family dynasty. Born in 1839 to an enslaved mother and a white steamboat captain, Church grew up working on the Mississippi River. He learned the ins and outs of business from the bustling river trade. After gaining his freedom during the Civil War, he moved to Memphis in 1865 and started to build his life. His first businesses were small, a saloon, a restaurant, but his success made him a target. During the horrifying Memphis riot of 1866, a white mob attacked his saloon. They shot him, stole his money, and left him for dead. But Robert Church didn't die. And in an unbelievable act of defiance, he refused to leave Memphis. He promised he would stay and build his empire in the very city that tried to kill him. Church's big break came from an even bigger tragedy, the yellow fever epidemics of the 1870s. As the disease tore through Memphis, people fled in terror, and the city's economy completely collapsed. Property was worthless. But where everyone else saw death, Robert Church saw the opportunity of a lifetime. While others ran, he stayed, and he started buying up land. A lot of it. He bought commercial buildings and empty lots for pennies on the dollar. When the plague finally ended and people came back, Memphis was a new city, and Robert Church owned a huge piece of it. His real estate empire became the cornerstone of a massive fortune, estimated to be worth over $1 million by the early 1900s. He became one of the most powerful landowners in Tennessee and was said to be collecting over $6,000 a month in rent alone, an astronomical sum back then. Like Fortin, Church knew that money was power, and he used that power to lift up his community. Since black citizens were banned from public parks, he built one himself. In 1899, he bought a huge piece of land on Beale Street and created Church's Park and Auditorium. This wasn't just a park. It was a sanctuary with a concert hall and a massive auditorium that became the center of black culture and politics in Memphis, hosting everyone from President Teddy Roosevelt to the first blues musicians. And he didn't stop there. In 1906, he founded the Solvent Savings Bank and Trust Company, the city's first black-owned bank. This was revolutionary. It gave black families and business owners access to loans they could never get from white banks. The Church family legacy continued for generations. His daughter, Mary Church Terrell, became a national icon, a co-founder of the NAACP and a relentless activist. The Church family didn't just build a fortune, they built the institutions that would empower the black community in Memphis for decades to come. Now we move from the Mississippi River to the most cutthroat financial battlefield in the world, Wall Street. In the mid-19th century, this was a white-only club. But one man kicked the door down. His name was Jeremiah G. Hamilton, and he was Wall Street's first black millionaire. His white rivals called him the Prince of Darkness, and his story is one of pure, raw ambition and a financial mind that terrified the establishment. Hamilton's origins are a mystery. He first pops up in historical records in the most dramatic way possible, running a counterfeit coin scheme in Haiti in 1828. When the plot was discovered, a death sentence was put on his head, and he barely escaped back to New York. This was the high-stakes world Jeremiah Hamilton was made for. Back in New York, he jumped straight into the chaos of finance. This was an era with no rules, a time of wild speculation and corporate warfare. And Hamilton was better at the game than anyone. He was a master speculator who built his fortune through insurance scams and lawsuits. His signature move was to buy up the stock of companies that had been wiped out by disasters, like the Great Fire of New York in 1835, and then sue the insurance companies to pay out the full value. It made him feared, and it made him rich. He was so good and so aggressive that he became a direct rival to Cornelius Vanderbilt, the most powerful tycoon of the age. Their rivalry was the stuff of legend. While other black entrepreneurs were focused on serving the black community, Hamilton charged into the white-dominated world of high finance like no black man ever had before. His personal life was just as defiant. He married a white woman, bought a mansion in New Jersey, and owned stock in railroad companies that legally wouldn't even let him ride in their passenger cars. The press called him the Black Shark and the Prince of Darkness, names that dripped with racism, but also with a grudging respect for his talent. When Jeremiah Hamilton died in 1875, he left behind a fortune of $2 million. In today's money, that would be a massive fortune, likely worth over $50 million. At the time of his death, he was the richest black man in the United States. His story is completely different from the community-building legacies of the Fortons and Churches. Hamilton's legacy was one of pure financial conquest. He proved that a black man with nothing but his own mind and nerve could dominate the most predatory arena in American business and force Wall Street to bend to his will. While Jeremiah Hamilton was taking on Wall Street, another financial genius was quietly building an empire just across the river in Brooklyn. Her name was Elizabeth Gloster, and by the time she died in 1883, she was known as the wealthiest black woman in America. Her story is a masterclass in real estate and a powerful example of how black women used their business smarts to build fortunes and fund the revolution. Born a free woman in Virginia in 1817, she married Reverend James Gloster, and the two moved to New York, where Elizabeth's ambition took off. She opened a couple of stores, but she found her true calling in real estate. She began buying and running boarding houses, which were in huge demand in the growing city, and she didn't just run one or two. At her peak, she managed a portfolio of more than a dozen properties, including an upscale boarding house that catered to a mostly white clientele. This was her genius. She knew the market, she knew how to manage property, and she did it with incredible skill. When Elizabeth Gloster died, the value of her estate was a hot topic. Newspapers estimated it was somewhere between $200,000 and $500,000, but her lawyer claimed her net worth was even higher. No matter the exact number, her multi-million-dollar fortune in today's money made her one of the most important real estate moguls of her time, period. But just like the Fortons and the Churches, the Glosters' money was tied to the cause of abolition. Their home and their church were command centers for the anti-slavery movement in Brooklyn. They were a stop on the Underground Railroad, and Elizabeth used her fortune to fund the cause directly. When the famous abolitionist John Brown was planning his raid on Harper's Ferry, he stayed at the Gloster home, and they gave him money for his mission. Her charity was smart and strategic. She led the effort to create the Colored Orphans Asylum in Brooklyn and gave generously to small black churches in the South. Elizabeth Gloster was a double threat, a brilliant businesswoman who built a real estate empire from scratch, and a dedicated freedom fighter who used her profits to bankroll the struggle. Her legacy is a powerful reminder that behind the great men of the abolitionist movement, there were often equally brilliant and wealthy women writing the checks. Now, we're moving into the 20th century, where the world of black enterprise was about to be turned upside down by two women. They would not only become millionaires, but they would also give tens of thousands of other black women a path to financial freedom. Their empires were built on hair care, but their legacies were built on economic independence. We're talking about the brilliant chemist Annie Turnbow Malone and her one-time student and eventual rival, the legendary Madam C.J. Walker. The story really starts with Annie Turnbow Malone, a true pioneer who often gets overshadowed by her more famous student. Born in 1869, Malone had a gift for chemistry. In the early 1900s, she developed a game-changing line of hair care products she called Poro, which didn't use the harsh, damaging chemicals that were common at the time. As a black woman, she couldn't just put her products in stores, so she became a marketing genius. She and her assistants went door to door, giving free demonstrations to win over customers. In 1902, she moved her business to St. Louis, and it exploded. It was there that a woman named Sarah Breedlove, who would later become Madam C.J. Walker, started working as one of her sales agents. Annie Malone's success was incredible. By the end of World War I, she was a multi-millionaire, with some estimates putting her peak fortune as high as $14 million, a number that would be worth hundreds of millions today. But Malone didn't just keep her wealth. In 1918, she built Poro College in St. Louis, a massive complex that was a factory, a training center, and a community hub all in one. Poro College trained an estimated 75,000 Poro agents around the world, giving black women a path to financial independence that was simply unheard of. Now, let's turn to Madam C.J. Walker. Born Sarah Breedlove in 1867, she worked as a Poro agent for Malone before moving to Denver in 1906 to start her own hair care company. While the rivalry between the two women is famous, what Walker did was take the direct sales model she learned from Malone and scale it up to a level nobody had ever seen before. She traveled all over the country and the Caribbean, tirelessly promoting her Walker system and training an army of Walker agents. These agents were more than employees. They were entrepreneurs. Walker wasn't just selling hair products. She was selling a vision of economic freedom to black women. Her success was off the charts. By the time she died in 1919, she was celebrated as the first self-made female millionaire in American history. She became famous for her wealth and for showing it off as a symbol of what was possible. She built a stunning mansion in New York called Villa Lewaro, near the estates of the Rockefellers, making a bold statement that black wealth belonged among America's most powerful dynasties. Together, Malone and Walker created an entire industry and provided a path to economic freedom for countless black women. Though much of Malone's fortune was later lost to lawsuits and financial troubles, her initial impact was monumental. They established a model of business and philanthropy that continues to inspire people today. Our story now heads out to the West Coast, to a time before the gold rush, before California was even a state. We're going to a dusty little Mexican village called Yerba Buena, which would one day become San Francisco. And at the very center of its creation is a man named William Alexander Leidesdorff, a pioneering Afro-Caribbean entrepreneur who is considered one of America's first black millionaires. Born in 1810 in the Danish West Indies, Leidesdorff was of mixed heritage. As a young man, he moved to New Orleans, became a U.S. citizen, and made his name as a sea captain and merchant. But in 1841, he sailed for California and arrived in the sleepy village of Yerba Buena. Back then, Yerba Buena was a tiny settlement. Leidesdorff saw its potential. He didn't just move there, he started building it. He established the very first hotel in the village. He built the first commercial shipping warehouse on the waterfront. He launched the first steamboat to ever sail on the San Francisco Bay. He was single-handedly laying the groundwork for a future metropolis. To secure his business interests, Leidesdorff became a Mexican citizen, which allowed him to get a massive land grant of 35,000 acres. His political power grew too. When the U.S. took control of California, he was appointed as an American diplomat and served on the town's first city council. He was truly a founding father of San Francisco. But Leidesdorff's life was cut tragically short. He died suddenly in May of 1848 at only 38 years old, and here's where the story takes an unbelievable turn. Just a few months before he died, something happened on the land right next to his massive estate. Gold was discovered at Sutter's Mill. The California gold rush had begun. Leidesdorff died without ever knowing that his 35,000 acres were sitting next to some of the richest gold deposits in the world. When his estate was finally settled in 1856, it was valued at an almost unbelievable $1.45 million. This fortune, equivalent to well over $40 million today, cements his status as one of the first black millionaires in America. Because he died without a will, his vast fortune was caught up in legal battles for years. Today, Leidesdorf Street in San Francisco's financial district is named after him, a small tribute to the African founding father of California. Perhaps no story of early black wealth is as inspiring or as heartbreaking as the one built in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In the early 20th century, the Greenwood district of Tulsa was a shining example of black prosperity, a self-sufficient economic powerhouse known all over the country as Black Wall Street. And one of its main architects was a visionary named Ottawa W. Gurley. Born to freed slaves in 1868, Gurley was a self-educated man with a grand vision. In 1905, he moved to the booming oil town of Tulsa, bought 40 acres of land on the north side of the city's segregated railroad tracks, and set out to build a town for black people by black people. He started with a grocery store. Then he started selling plots of his land exclusively to other black families. This was the birth of Greenwood. Gurley was more than just a real estate developer. He was a community builder. He gave loans to other entrepreneurs, helping them start the businesses that would become the heart of Black Wall Street. His own empire grew to include a hotel, rental properties, and an employment agency. By 1921, O.W. Gurley owned over 100 properties in Greenwood, with a personal net worth that would be equivalent to between $7 and $14 million today. He was one of the wealthiest men in Tulsa. Thanks to the efforts of Gurley and other pioneers, Greenwood became an economic miracle. The 35-square block district had its own black-owned banks, hotels, theaters, and luxury shops. It was a closed economic loop where money circulated within the community, building incredible wealth. But this incredible success story fueled a fire of jealousy and hatred from the white community in Tulsa. In May of 1921, that hatred exploded into one of the worst acts of racial violence in American history, the Tulsa Race Massacre. For 2 days, a white mob, armed by city officials, descended on Greenwood. They looted and burned the entire district to the ground. When it was over, Black Wall Street was gone. Hundreds of black residents were murdered and thousands were left homeless. O.W. Gurley lost everything. His hotel, his properties, his entire fortune, all of it was destroyed. He was arrested and eventually fled to Los Angeles to escape being lynched. He died in California in 1935, his massive fortune completely wiped out. The story of O.W. Gurley is a painful but crucial reminder of the incredible heights black entrepreneurs could reach, and the brutal violence that could steal it all away in an instant. While many of the people on our list built their fortunes in business, our next story shows another path to power and wealth: politics. This is the story of Blanche Kelso Bruce, a man who rose from slavery to the U.S. Senate, building a powerful political and financial legacy along the way. Born into slavery in Virginia in 1841, Bruce was unusually able to get an education. After escaping during the Civil War, he moved to Mississippi during the Reconstruction era, a time of huge opportunity for newly freed African Americans. Bruce was talented and charismatic. He quickly became a wealthy landowner, but his real dream was politics. He rose through the ranks of the Republican Party until in 1874, the state legislature elected him to the United States Senate. This was a massive deal. Blanche K. Bruce was the first African American to serve a full 6-year term in the U.S. Senate. He was a respected legislator who fought for the rights of freedmen, Native Americans, and Chinese immigrants. He even presided over the Senate on one occasion, another historic first. His position in Washington, D.C. made him one of the most powerful black men in the country. He and his wife, Josephine, became the center of black high society in the capital, placing them firmly in the elite circle of wealthy African American families. After his Senate term, President James A. Garfield appointed Bruce as the Register of the Treasury. This was another huge achievement. As Register, his signature appeared on all of the nation's paper money, making Blanche K. Bruce the first African American whose signature was printed on U.S. currency. The position came with a great salary and immense influence, which further secured his family's wealth. Bruce invested his money wisely in land and stocks, and by the time he died in 1898, he had built a significant fortune. His son, Roscoe Conkling Bruce, graduated from Harvard and became a prominent educator. The Bruce family represents a unique kind of black wealth, one built not in the markets of New York, but in the halls of power in Washington, D.C., showing how political power, for a short time, provided a path to creating a powerful legacy. Sometimes the story of wealth isn't about one family, but about a whole community of interconnected families who created their own exclusive world. That was the case for the black elite of St. Louis, Missouri. Long before Annie Turnbow Malone built her Poro empire there, St. Louis was home to a colored aristocracy whose wealth and social status set them apart. The roots of this elite class go all the way back to the early 19th century. Many of these families were descended from free people of color who had owned land for decades. They built their fortunes in skilled trades like barbering and catering, and most importantly, in real estate. As St. Louis grew, anyone who owned land saw their wealth explode. What really defined this group was how exclusive they were. This was a closed society. They started their own social clubs and held formal debutante balls. Education was everything. They sent their children to the best private schools and colleges. And most importantly, they married each other. Families like the Clamorgans, Mordecais, and Pelagies joined their fortunes and their bloodlines, creating a web that protected their wealth for generations. A key figure here was Cyprian Clamorgan, who, in 1858, wrote a book called The Colored Aristocracy of St. Louis. In it, he laid out the fortunes and family histories of this elite class, revealing a world of established wealth that was totally hidden from white society. He described families who owned entire city blocks and lived in beautiful homes with servants. One of those families was the Pelagie family. Pelagie, a free woman of color, had acquired a lot of land early in St. Louis' history. Her descendants managed that real estate portfolio, becoming one of the city's wealthiest black families. Their story was typical of the St. Louis elite, wealth that came from land, carefully passed down and protected by strategic marriages. This class was also dedicated to community leadership, funding schools, churches, and orphanages. However, it was also a society that often prioritized lighter skin, reflecting the complex and painful issue of colorism that existed within the black community at the time. The story of the St. Louis elite shows how a whole group of families could build and sustain generational wealth by creating their own parallel society, ensuring their legacy would last for over a century. We've gone from the docks of Philadelphia to the mansions of D.C., from the ashes of Tulsa to the glamour of the Harlem Renaissance. We've seen how these incredible families and communities built empires. But that brings us to the big question: where is all that old money now? The hard truth is that for most of these dynasties, the fortunes are gone. The same forces that made their success so incredible are the same ones that made keeping that wealth almost impossible. Unlike white dynasties like the Rockefellers or Vanderbilts, black families with old money had no systemic support. They faced a constant generational attack from racial violence, discriminatory laws, and targeted legal battles. Annie Turnbow Malone's story is a perfect example. She built a massive empire, but a nasty divorce, endless IRS investigations, and the Great Depression wiped her fortune out. The wealth of O.W. Gurley wasn't just lost, it was burned to the ground in a single act of terrorism. The huge estate of William Leidersdorf was mostly swallowed up by administrators, with his family only getting a fraction of its true gold rush value. Even for families who avoided total disaster, just holding on was a struggle. Fortunes were diluted as they were passed down to more and more heirs, and the simple economic pressure of operating in a hostile, segregated country took its toll. But their legacy isn't just about money. Their true inheritance is the institutions they built and the progress they paid for. The Fortin family's money fueled the abolitionist movement. The Church family's bank empowered Black Memphis for decades. Madam C.J. Walker's fortune helped fund the NAACP and the Harlem Renaissance. While direct, dynastic fortunes on the scale of their white peers are incredibly rare, the spirit of these families is alive and well. We see it in the families of modern black business titans. Figures like Robert F. Smith and David Stewart are building new, massive fortunes, and they are building them on a foundation laid by these early pioneers. The stories of America's original black elite are a critical, forgotten part of our history. They are tales of unbelievable genius and resilience. They challenge our whole understanding of American wealth and force us to see the powerful currents of black capitalism that have always been there, often just below the surface. They built fortunes, they funded revolutions, and they created legacies that are woven into the very fabric of Black America. The world of America's black old money is a universe of forgotten empires and hidden histories. The names of Fortin, Church, Hamilton, and Walker belong in the pantheon of great American entrepreneurs. Their stories are not just black history, they are American history. They prove that the dream of building something that lasts, of creating a legacy, has always been a powerful force in the black community, even in the nation's darkest hours. What we've uncovered today is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more stories of black innovators, financiers, and trailblazers that have been left out of the history books. If you want to continue this journey of discovery and help bring these essential stories to the forefront, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and have turned on notifications.
All right. I hope you all enjoyed that video. When I saw it, I was pleasantly surprised, not at the history, but that someone had taken the time to really focus on black people who have created wealth, and what they did with the wealth is more impressive to me than the acquiring of the wealth. And what we're seeing is that throughout it all, the people in our community in history who became wealthy, they understood that they had a responsibility to help those that were not as wealthy, to help those who were still enslaved. So they left a legacy of using their wealth to finance the Black liberation struggle. So I wanted to share that, to share with you all that all of us who are privileged, we have a responsibility to help those who aren't. All of us who are privileged are standing on the shoulders of people who had to overcome just astronomical odds to not only be able to exist, but to be able to fund the liberation of all of us. So I am honored to be here as the president of the Black Achievement Fund. I take pride in what we do in building this new community. And I want to take a little time to thank everyone for their donations to our Pyramid One house that we're building on our land. We have surpassed the $25,000 mark. We're going for $75,000, so we're more than 1/3 of the way there. So we're about to refresh our campaign so that we can get to the next $25,000. All right, so for those of you who have given, thank you tremendously. For those of you who haven't, please, if you can spare it, make a contribution to our New Kemet Pyramid One home. And you can do so by going on our website. And if you hit the donate button, it will take you directly to that page. All right. I also want to bring awareness to a new education product that we have via Education for Life Academy. It's a new education series called the Breaking Barriers African American History series. And we recently created that. We spent so much of the past 2 decades focusing a lot of our educational products on history before slavery, because we felt that there was so much out there about slavery, and we wanted to make sure that our people, that our children understood that we were the originators of all fields of knowledge, but even beyond that, all human beings originated from Africa. So we have taken the time now to focus on African American history through our Breaking Barriers African American History curriculum. And it features 10 pioneering figures in African American history, like some of those that you saw today, some of those that I've already done some info sessions on. But all of the classes also come with vocab, they come with discussion questions, they come with a quiz with an instant downloadable certificate of achievement from Education for Life Academy for those who pass the quiz. It is $39, but Black Achievement Fund members get $15 off, making it $24.99 with the promo code BAF member. So I just wanted to bring attention to that, and I'm going to stop and ask anyone who is on if they would like to comment on the video. Any of our members?
Yeah, I thought the video was excellent as far as Black history and knowledge. And I also realized that this is the stuff that the Orange Man wants to take out of the Smithsonian. You know? But that's where we're at with this guy.
Mm-hmm. And what's important, I think, is for us to understand that we have to create institutions that endure our lifetimes. You know, we have to, and that's why we're working hard to do things like creating new educational series and things like that, because no one else is going to do it. In fact, our kids are having less and less and less opportunities to learn about themselves, and we have no idea how much has already been cut out. We have no idea. So the fact that we have to supplement our own children's education, I mean, it's no longer a luxury. It's actually a requirement now. So we want to bring these stories to life to let our people understand that to study African American history isn't one that is going to just have you doomed over this ordeal of enslavement. There were so many examples of Black people succeeding during the worst of times. And I think that is a very, very powerful lesson for us to understand that we face worse.
Oh, yeah.
We face worse. And we've band together to overcome all of those errors. You know, so having this history and understanding this history make you more resilient to what's happening and give you a more fighting spirit than a spirit of, you know, being doomed and, you know, what can I do? Like there's a history of action. So,
yeah.
Yep. Anyone else?
Greetings,
Greetings,
family.
Greetings.
I was not good in reading. It took me a long time to comprehend, but I was always good in math. And I just wonder, usually when I start talking about numbers, don't nobody want to talk about it. But if we could think, if 50 of us got together and said, let's put $150 in. You may not have it the first time. You may have to do it over 3 months. You may have to go get 2 more people, so it'll be 3 of you doing it. But 50 people, now am I right? Times 150 is $75,000 that day. I mean, if we could think about numbers, that's how people get rich. They multiplying it, putting the interest and all that stuff on it. But that's what I'm saying about just, you said, well, I don't have 150. But if you had 50, and then when it got 2 more people that's got 50, that's a group. That is a 150, and then $75,000 would, I don't know what it's going to do, but I know it's going to do something over there at the pyramid.
All right. That's right. And that's how
our goal.
That's how I did mine, Dr. Gloria. I did mine over a period of like 4 months.
Yeah.
You know,
Just get it in there. Get that 150 in there. And then I mean, and don't be saying, well, I ain't putting nothing up yet and all that kind of stuff. It's coming.
yeah.
I don't believe now. I don't believe all those people where they talk about somebody took some money from them. I was in those groups too. I mean, I'm gonna tell you exactly why. Because I've always felt if we can get some black people together, we can have anything. I just listened today about Nigeria. I don't know if anybody else saw this, but Nigeria was paying out a whole lot of money to other countries, including the United States. And they were taking the money because they knew what to do, what kind of oil they were going to get. They were taking their oil from Nigeria, I think it was, and mixing it and doing whatever they needed to do. All these years, they've been making so much money. And now they have found out that they should have been using the money to buy what all these big companies around here, especially England. I was real surprised about that. And now they are the ones that are rich. And we can do it, but we gotta think different. We gotta think a little deeper than that surface. I can see us doing this before Christmas if we can get 50 people.
It's actually 500. I wish it was 50.
500 times 50. Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
500.
it's 75,000. It sure is.
Yeah.
Well,
7,500, or what she said.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't we then do uh if you do the 50, how much is it? Let me add that up. I know we can
7,500.
do it. I know we can do it. What
It's-
is it? 75,000 divided by 150. It's
You-
500 people.
Right.
Okay. That's we shouldn't have to wait for that many.
Yeah.
No, please.
Yeah, actually, Mama Gloria, I would say based on your math, if you did 75,000 divided by 50, because
Yeah.
we could probably get 50 people, but 500, that's gonna be hard.
Yeah.
But
Well,
500 people,
listen.
when let those 50 come up with it. If they can afford it, just how many months would it take? But
I don't-
you would have them working on that 75. And it shouldn't take that long. Do that for me with that
Well,
young brain you got there.
I will say this. I will say this to you. I am almost 100% certain that we're going to be able to start building that house before we even reach the $75,000 mark. And that is primarily because of the fact that the land is growing in value. So I'll be able to take some of that equity out of the land as part of our construction of the first house. So no matter how we look at it, we're going to accomplish and achieve what we're setting out to do. And it's not going to be 10, 15 years. All right, we're being extremely strategic.
How about 5 months?
Well, look, and you said, Brother Aki, we're a little over 25,000, right?
Yep.
So when you take that away from 75,000, we're only talking about right around 50,000. When you divide that by the 50 that Mama Gloria mentioned, that's only 1,000 per person. And if
Thank you.
if people could do, those that have 1,000 can send it, but those that could do maybe 100 a month, that's 10 months. So we're definitely saying by the end of next year, with
I
those
like
50
that. I like that.
committed.
What?
Next year,
It's almost
What-
like
what-
it's almost like my home church when they built the mega church.
yeah,
We had to say what our commitment was to the church. Each family
that's
did.
right.
Isn't that how
They
they
got
do
to
it?
give the pastor a present for his
No,
birthday. I mean,
no, but to the building.
and
This is just to
everybody's
the building.
competing with, I want to give the best. I got to take care of my pastor. You know what I'm saying? We can do it, but we gotta want to do it. I'm thinking we don't see it. We don't see it.
Yeah,
Well, I
but
think
that's
I
how
love your
they
idea.
used to do it back in the day.
I love your
No,
idea.
they
So
still doing it now.
this week I'm going to work on a new campaign for the 50,000 that we need to raise, and I'm going to use the $1,000 and see if we can get people to commit to the $1,000 because I want to get to the finish line as quick
That's right.
as well.
That's
So we're
right.
going to
We
take
need it
that
one
advice.
time. If they can see one time, that's gonna bring in other people. But they just see it is coming and coming. You know, you think about Umar, and I don't know what it is. I know I believed in him because it was a school, but uh, we can do it. We can do it. I like
Yeah,
that
we can
idea.
do it.
So come up with 1,000 with 50 people.
Yep. That's
And
going to be
also
our
come up with
new,
500 with 150 people.
yeah.
What is
And
that going to
so
give us?
I'm
But
also,
Well,
then
but
see, you'll be
That
dealing
that's
with
when
human
75,000
beings.
right
That's
there.
different.
what y'all got to look at is our active members. That look at the people that contributed to our first amount. We had what 100 and something people, but it took us 2 years. We're talking about 10 months. So that's why what Mama Gloria said, those 50, if we can get 50 people committed to donating,
Right.
that's a lot better than pushing it out to more and more people, because that's going to
Yeah,
push
they
it
don't
out
want to deal with a
further
lot
and
of people
further.
till they can see it. They need to see it.
I
If we
agree.
can do it with just 50 people, and don't forget that 50 people, I know because I've been there, I didn't have 50 cents sometimes. But if you can get a person that will say, either I'm going to get three that'll do 50 or six that'll do 25, and that one person, but you don't want to have a whole lot of people show up. One person be responsible for either that three or that six. But we got to see it. You don't move till you know it can be done. You know what I'm saying? You got to know it can be done.
And we're
It
One
can
of
be
the
done.
things,
utilizing our development to show people that this is not an abstract dream, that we are literally building. I'm so upset because there's been so much rain here that we haven't even been able to get the foundation in for the first house, but we're back in construction tomorrow. So we're going to be blogging that whole process. But I just think that it really is going to take a lot more convincing in light of so many people with this idea crashing and burning with it. So I love the new strategy with the 50 people, with the 1,000. We're going to move ahead and implement that and
And
get
you not stealing. That's the thing.
exactly.
Nobody can say you're stealing. I mean,
Exactly.
that's
I,
the thing. You didn't go out there and buy a big mansion and put it on the corner. We don't see you going out there them big parties with these long evening gowns. We see you trying step by step to do it. And if you can get 50 people who really believe in it, I don't even think in terms of you'll be stealing. I would be going down to the jail already. And they said, but Gloria, he was stealing. I wouldn't believe it. Wouldn't believe it.
I love it, Dr.
I
Gloria.
like that idea.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, we conceptualize this as college students, and I take honor that people entrust me with their money. I don't care if it is $9 a month, it's still your money that you earn. So, and this vision, there's nothing that I want to accomplish more than to show our people that we have the leadership capacity, but more importantly, we have a simple model to finance our development to where we can stand firm and be who we are and resist in a more meaningful way without having to be out in the streets doing this and begging other people to appeal to vote this down, having the power ourselves. So the new campaign we're going to start this week. So Dr. Gloria, come on tomorrow morning, all right? So we can talk about it.
Oh, I can't come tomorrow morning.
All right.
Oh,
Or just give me a call when you free sometime next week.
okay. Okay. All
Bro-
right. Okay.
Brother, I keep one quick
Got your
thing. Why
son. He
why
heard
not
me.
50 people from each region?
I would love that. So I'm gonna put
still
out.
based on our active people. See,
I,
brother Lou, you got to do some work like we did in trying to get that fundraiser we did with the Kwanzaa ball. that $10,000 was not easy.
It was.
And talking about 50 in each region, and we got what, 6 regions? Is it 6 or 7?
5.
Yeah, we have 5. But I will say this: the more people we have on hand working on it, the faster we'll achieve our goal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold a fundraising meeting. So
Okay.
for those who are interested in helping to fundraise, then we can all get together and think of some things that we can do on a large scale, some things that we can do regionally, and things like that. I've been
Chicken dinners, like back in the
yeah,
day.
yeah,
Do the
listen,
do the
listen.
fish fry on Friday, chicken dinner on Sunday. Let me tell you, our church was only supposed to be 3 million. And by the time it was actually built and we walked in, it was over 10 million. You talking
Wow.
about fundraisers? Look, we did all kinds of chicken dinners and fish dinners, and we had lock-ins for the children.
Yeah, we got to get it going. So
Yeah.
I'm going to host a fundraising meeting. So I need you all to come back to that platform, and so we can solidify some of these ideas and some new strategies and get
Let
to.
me say one more thing.
Go ahead,
Do
sister.
you know that that money that you're talking about, they got together and made black pastors think that they were doing something. They knew that it was that. We got a pastor in Portsmouth that, I mean, it just took him all the way down. They knew that this was what's going to happen, but we didn't. We didn't count. We didn't know. In the world, we need $1 million, and it's right down the street from the ABC store. You see
That's
what I'm
it.
saying?
Right on, Sister Glory.
Well, listen, I am happy that you
Look
guys
at
are
him.
on my team.
He's gonna. I know. Talk to the angels for me. Talk to the angels for me, because I want
I
to
hate
see it.
You want to say
I
hello?
hate Alina just fell asleep. She would love to see him. But she was, while I had her up here, she was falling all. I was like,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he just woke up,
He
actually. I was so
stopped and
happy that he
listened.
slept
He was
for
just
the
listening. I said, "Oh my gracious, yes, the children are listening."
All right. Well, thank you all. I will see you soon. Thank everyone. Thank you all for everything that you've done for the Black Achievement Fund. We're going to accomplish all of these goals, and we're going to be the light for everybody else. And we're moving in the right direction. I'm excited about where we are, and we're going to get it done. All right. So
All
peace
right.
out, Black Achievement
Brother
Fund.
Ike,
Yes.
I got a chance to meet Reverend
Oh,
Vernon
Wazuri Wells.
Wells and his wife and family this
Yeah,
year.
he shared it with me.
Yeah. And we
Good
went and
stuff. Good
seen
stuff. I hope they make that relocation.
Yeah, they said they probably won't be doing it until sometime next year.
Oh, that's hey.
Yeah, early part of next year. I'm thinking it will be, but we'll stay in touch with them.
All right. All right, everyone.
Are we
Peace out.
still going to the Dedham camp out on the 29th?
Yes, we're still having that.
Okay, if anybody have a space available, let me know.
Okay,
So I
I'm
can hit a
sure I
ride
do
for
so.
2.
All right.
Yeah, I'm sure we will have space for you, Brother Caleb.
Okay.
All right. Talk to you all soon.